What's going on, everybody? It's Pelfrey, and I'm in the middle of doing some water testing. So what you just saw was the hand of phosphorus come back at 48, which I'm gonna have to use the Neptune Apex to convert that, but my phosphates have been kind of through the roof. So on 826, whenever I tested them here, they were 17.05, and they went up to 51, and now they're at 48. This is the nitrate test kit. I did the high range test, so I used 15 milliliters of roti water and then 1 milliliter of tank water. And I'm fixing to do the alkalinity. But back to this real quick. This has stayed about where it's at, which I would call about 4 parts per million with the high range test kit. And you can see here, that was a high test, a low test, and it come back at 4 and 4. Or that right there was probably less than 4, and then high range 4. So I'm on track with that. Let's see what the alkalinity is testing at. .4, which is on target. So 8.4, 8, 8.2, 8.2, 8.3, 8.3, 8.3, and then a little bit of a span, so 8.4 there. It is worth mentioning here that phosphates did test at 87. That's probably because the chromies that I put in the tank whenever they passed away, which was very strange to me. I figured that I would register more nitrates, but I guess that's just simply not the case. But they did go back down, and that's a good thing. And I'm not running any GFO or Cheeto, however you want to call it, Kato. Obviously, I pulled the Rain 2 algae scrubber out of the tank. To round out the testing, we got a calcium of 385 using the Red Sea test kit. Also, the Red Sea test kit of magnesium of 1300. The phosphates were 0.15, so you can see they were 0.16, 0.27, 0.15. Again, nitrates high range, and the salinity been staying pretty stable at 1.026. Now, the only reason I've been writing this down is so that I can keep a better track of it. But I do keep all of this in the Neptune Apex app. You can track all of this with the exception of salinity. And if you weren't aware, I have a build thread on Reef to Reef. The link to that is always in the description below. But I reached out and I asked if maybe I should run some GFO, which I don't have any GFO because it's been a very long time since I've run any GFO. And basically a couple people chimed in. They said just let it be. It's kind of strange for me to have the amount of phosphate that I do have, but again, I'm not running the algae turf scrubber, so kind of comes expected. Now, I could do a water change and definitely bring the phosphates down. I've not done a water change in this tank in well over a month, maybe a month and a half. For no other reason than I just haven't done a water change. I really haven't seen a reason to do a water change. The parameters have held pretty steady, so I've just kind of saved the salt and just not used it. So again, the corals, the new corals that I got for the most part are looking okay. I mean, this green slimer here does look a little dull, but it could be just adjusting. And this bird's nest right here is pretty well stripped completely. This acan over here, which is under direct light, it's not in the shade at all. It is actually bouncing back quite well, much better than I thought it was going to. So all in all, I'm thrilled with the direction that the tank is going as far as the stability of the parameters. I've not changed anything. I've not touched the light schedule. I've not touched the Kessel intensity. I've not changed anything on the tank. So aside from adding water to the auto top off, which I do have a float switch and an optical sensor in there, and I actually got an alert yesterday. So I went ahead and put about 9 gallons in the auto top off. Shouldn't get that alert for quite some time. But yeah, as far as stability, I mean, the tank is what I would call stable. So I did send off the Triton test kit. I don't know where it's at. It should have reached California by now, so I suspect that I'll get those test results in probably another 2 weeks or so. Everything is growing. Coralline algae is just great. I mean, the gyre pumps are, again, you can't see it here, but that reflection you see there and on the MP10 is basically the plastic covered in purple. So both the gyre pumps probably need to come out again and get soaked in vinegar. as well as the MP10. It's definitely purple. So I just like to keep them clean and clean them often so that they don't get too gunked up and I don't have to worry too much about it. Interesting thing over here, so I have 2 boxes here. One of them is for me, and the other one is for an upcoming contest that I'm going to run. I've only ran one contest on my channel. I'm not really for running contests, but Inkbird reached out to me and asked if I would be interested to try out one of their new products. And I said, sure. The only stipulation is I want one, and then I want to give one away in a contest. So they sent me 2 of them. And if you're not familiar with it, what this is it's a temperature controller. So I don't know if I can move it over here into some better light, but this one is actually a temperature, and it has a temperature sensor and a humidity sensor. So you can hook one of them up to a heater and then say the other one up to a fan. So I still need to do a little research on it and get it set up. There'll be a full video on setting this thing up. Not quite sure how I'm going to run a contest on the other one, but I'm for sure going to give it away. Why would I use one of these whenever I have the Neptune Apex? Again, Inkbird reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in testing out the product, and I said, sure, why not? I like to play with electronics and technology, so this is a perfect opportunity for me to try it out. And I've known about Inkbird for a while. You just really don't hear a lot about Inkbird. You hear, about the Rancho controllers or the JBJ True Temp controllers or maybe a DIY controller, but you don't really hear much about Inkbird. So I asked some folks on Instagram if they've ever used it before. Surprisingly enough, a few people spoke up and said they've been using them for a while. They love them, they trust them. So I'm interested to get it hooked up. I am going to order a titanium heater. So right now I'm running 2 Eheim heaters in my sump. I am going to run a titanium heater off of the Inkbird temperature controller. So I'm going to basically just increase the temperature of the Eheim controllers, and then use the single titanium controller as the primary controller. So I'm looking forward to it. I think that if you have any tank whatsoever, I think that you should be running the temperature controller on there. That's just my opinion. Built-in thermostats can fail. I mean, it's like anything else, it can fail, but having the security of the external controller really does help out. So I could run one of my Eheim heaters off of this controller and use the built-in thermostat from the Eheim heater, but allow the Inkbird to control it. But I'm just going to go ahead and get a new titanium heater. I've been wanting to try titanium heaters out for a while. Perfect opportunity to get one. In the last video, I also mentioned that Kessel came out with the A360X. If you're not following Kessel on any of their social medias, I suggest that you do. I also created a thread about the new light on Reef to Reef, and we actually were lucky enough that some folks that were at MACNA responded with the price, the specs, and just confirming that it does have a fan built into it. You can actually control the A360WEs off of the new controller. So it's interesting because the new A360X does have a color wheel versus the 360s and the 160s, which just have a colored knob and you can't fine tune the color. So you will have to have either the new controller or the Wi-Fi adapter that's going to be released at some point. So I think that they said the price point was going to be at like $450, which is kind of steep if you ask me. I figured that they would start it out at $400, considering the A360WE is now $350. But you know, there is no longer a wide and a narrow version. It is simply just a wide version. So I guess technically you could use less fixtures, but we all know that with LEDs, more is always better. Phosphates, I have noticed that I'm having to clean the glass on the tank more often, which comes with the phosphate reading territory. I knew that from the get-go. Felt like any time that I would feed Reeferoids, which I usually feed Reeferoids like once a week, I just put it in my cup of frozen food and just throw it in the tank. You know, a day or two later, I got to clean the glass on the tank. So not really that big of a deal, not too concerned about it. Like I said, I was going to get some GFO, but I think I'm just going to let it ride out. And push comes to shove, I do still have the Rain 2, and I could throw it back in the tank. That's not a big deal at all. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off here. I do appreciate you watching and following along. With winter months coming, I'm very much looking forward to getting back to the tank and kind of focusing on it, which is, you know, the revolving door that us reefers live in. Summer months come around, we get busy doing things outside, and then winter comes around and here we are with the tank again. So do appreciate you following along. Be sure to check me out on Instagram at Pelfrey's Reef. Check out the website at pelfrey.net. I'll catch you on the next one.